start. Welcome to the panel, Digital Reuse, How Can We Wake the Dead? This illumination you see right now I took from the late 15th century prayer book, which is of course digitized and accessible online. There is word placebo written about this merry guy. I left it here deliberately because you know all this word, but actually this is, I have to say, first person singular future active indicative of the Latin verb placeo. And its original meaning is I will please, so I hope you will be pleased by our meeting. Okay, let's start with something as obvious as inevitable. You will all die. Okay, we will all die, but there is nothing we can do about it. But don't worry, don't be afraid, because after some time, it depends on copyright policy, a part of you will be resurrected in a brand new digital form. I mean actually everything you did, you wrote, you ever expressed in a permanent form will be digitized or will be able to be digitized and shared freely across the web. Honestly, in my opinion, nothing connects us better with the past than new technologies. Library is a great place to stay in touch with people from the past, but digital museums, digital libraries connect us to the whole heritage of humankind. Maybe even more than humankind, because some of digital museums allow us to see digitized dinosaur bones and so on. But let's leave it for later. Digitization brings the past back to life, allowing new use of old materials. And it doesn't matter if they are great works of art, literature, maps, cookbooks, or music manuscripts, or even music written elsewhere, as you can see. And it is not only about reuse. We already know well making something new with an old work of art. Digitization allows us to do things like data mining, data management, semantic webs, linguistic engineering, and so on. But this is a topic for tomorrow panel. And now, let me introduce our panelists. Ingrid Walschots, digital creative and project manager at the Internet and Innovation Department for the Dutch broadcaster NTR. She developed the interactive documentary Hieronymus Bos, Garden of Earthly Delights, which is really amazing. Peter Gorgels, Internet manager of the Rijksmuseum. He was responsible for developing the museum's strategy and for the major redesign of the Rijks website. In the effect, we have a Rijks Studio, an innovative online presentation of more, excuse me, I have to change, now it's okay. In the effect, we have Rijks Studio, an innovative online presentation of more than 25,000 works in the collection, from masterpieces of Rembrandt van Rijn to Japanese shunga wood prints. Matthieu Bonicel, head of innovation at the Bibliothèque Nationale de France. He managed projects like European Regia or Biblissima, and now he's French leader of IIIF. In the BNF, he's now in charge of defining the innovation strategy of the library. And there is a small confusion, because there should be Alex Baron, so we have to change to Marta Dymek, who collaborates with Alex Baron. Alex is co-founder and head chef of the Warsaw restaurant Solec 44, where he explores the boundaries of Polish cuisine. He works on ancient recipes and redefined classics. He often uses digital libraries and museums as a source of inspiration, and he's responsible for food provision for the conference. So he's busy right now, and he's working on something special, I think, for this evening. So on behalf of him, Marta will speak. And that's me. My name is Łukasz, and I'm a guy who knows where to find weird old stuff online. And I cannot show you my website because this Wi-Fi marked it as adult content and pornography. I don't know why, and I cannot show you it. Forgive me. So let's begin with Hieronymus Bosch. And here you should remember that most of people usually misspell Dutch names. So remember, it's Hieronymus Bosch, no Jerome Bosch or something like that. And also there is Van Gogh, not Van Gogh, of course. And a short story of my life. When I was a kid, I was a really nasty kid, and my parents used to give me an album of Hieronymus Bosch to calm me down. So 20 years later I became a medievalist, and 30 years later Ingrid created this amazing website. And she admitted in an interview that she, when she was a kid, she was scared by works of Hieronymus Bosch. The website address is Twenderlusten Hieronymus Bosch ntr.nl. You can easily remember this Dutch name because initial words Twinder sounds a bit like Tinder, so we have earthly delights and new technologies. So now, Ingrid, please give them some hell and a bit of paradise.
Yes, well, thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad that I can show this project to you all. It was a very successful project. It got a lot of nominations, and well, that's not the nicest thing. The nicest thing is that the project also has a following up. A lot of people. Well, I work for the Dutch public broadcaster, the NTR. And a lot of program makers now are inspired by this project and making their own interactive documentary. So that's really, that was really good to hear. Wait, I have to see how this works. I just do like this. Yes, that's how it works. Yeah. Well, the interactive documentary is a triptych project. I mean, there is a documentary for television, there is the interactive documentary, and there is a VR project. Well, the main reason why we started the project, the interactive documentary, was because in 2016, the born town of the artist Hieronymus Bosch, they celebrated it's a really difficult word, commemorated the 500th anniversary of Hieronymus Bosch's death. Well, the whole year the city initiated a lot of activities around the work and life of Bosch, and the highlight was a retrospective of his work in the North Brabant Museum. Well, that was in the city. But at the NTR, our documentary department has they started to develop a documentary about the Bos Research and Conservation Project. Director Pieter van Huisteen followed this team worldwide. They followed them while they were investigating paintings in museums like the Prada to see if the paintings were real or not from Bos. Well, the NTR asked me, they gave me the assignment to think about something to make the documentary a cross-media project. Well, I really love to think about that because I was born in the Bos, and as Łukasz told me, I was really afraid when I was a kid from these paintings. So that was really, I liked to get the confrontation with his work, so I was afraid, so now I get into it and see, well, what does it mean, all those symbols, and why I was afraid. And the other reason why I would really like to work with this project was I was really touched by the zoom-in technique from the Rijksmuseum has used in their site, which will be presented later, and the zoom-in technique from the Google Cultural Art Institute. Those two things, well, that keeps me going to start this project. Yeah, I think the best thing to tell about this project is just to show it to you. I have to search for this. Well, it's an interactive documentary about the painting, The Garden of Earthly Delights. We choose this painting because this was the only painting that wasn't in the exposition of the Noorderkabels Museum. The painting stayed at the Prado, and it's also his most famous work. But it was really exciting because we didn't know if we could get this painting, if we could get the rights and the right resolution to work with it. But we were luckily, the Prado put the work on the Wikipedia in high-res images, so we just could download it and work with it. So that was great. What you see here now, well, we made a story about the painting, and we know there are people who are going to a museum and they really like just to wander around and look around and choose whatever they like to watch. And other people like to get a guide who gets them through the museum and tell a story. So we give two options, explore freely or get a tour. If I'm talking too long, you have to give me a sign. Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, I now choose for freely explore, and what you can do is you can zoom in the painting and really get close. And what we did, I will make the sound a little bit less hard. I think I will do it like this. No? Yeah, or is it okay? Can you hear me well? Is the sound too loud? Yeah, it's too loud. Can I come? Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, we asked a sound designer and a componist to make music by the painting and also make sounds by every, well, not every, but most of all images you will see. And the sound is in 9 levels, so you have the sound, it's different when you are in heaven or in hell, or when you are above in the painting or under in the painting. And with the special technique, what's nice, when you zoom in, you also will zoom in on the sound. So that really works very well, I think. I don't know, now we don't hear the sounds anymore. I know. And we also made, well... It
was often referred to as the Bosch bird. Its eyes wide open. The owl keeps a close watch on things going on around him. The owl is a nocturnal animal looking for prey. As opposed to the ancient Greeks, here the association is not with wisdom or intelligence, but with impending evil and doom. Just like the owl's prey animals always have to be on their guard, so must man remain alert to the devil lurking. The owl cautions us. Careful. Evil is watching you, waiting for an opportunity to strike.
You see now you can wander through the painting, and on lots of places you find points of interest where you can hear by voice over or read by text what it's about. There are also videos. I will just wander a little bit around. And go to the hell, then you will hear the difference between This is my favorite part. I was really surprised that there was skating in hell. And one historian told a story about that he could see on the stripes on the ice which technique they used in that time with skating. I think that's nice that you really can watch very well and get more information about history by that. And also here, well, there you also can find...
In hell, the owl again makes its appearance, now acting like a demon from
Okay, I think you can just go to this website and watch it at home. What can I... Well, the painting also has outer panels. We also put that in the interactive. Okay. Now I get out this website. Can you help me, Łukasz? Okay, thank you. Well, when we went online with the painting, it was really amazing. We put it on Facebook. And immediately people, we didn't put any money on adverbs or something, it really organically, people are going to share it with each other. And on Reddit they also saw the project and they written about it, and then, well, we now have more than 1 million viewers, so that's really, for a website, that's really a lot. We're happy with that, of course. And yeah, the responses were also great. So, even kijken what they say. Take this mind-blowing virtual tour of Jeroen's Bos Garden of Early Delights. And some people thought it was like ecstasy, that they were tripping in hell. And well, that's really nice to hear, of course. Also on Twitter. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the innovation. I told you that the painting, we downloaded it from Wikipedia, but it was really too big to download it in one time. There were all different tiles. You have to download one for one, and we stitched them together. And the people from Q42, well, they designed the technique behind this, that well, you saw it, it's just online on Wi-Fi here, and you can zoom in and out very quickly. So they did really a good job. And this is showing how the sound works, that it's also going zoom in and out. Yeah, we did also a new form of digital storytelling. well, it's interactive, you can wander around, you can have a tour, but we also had a children's program. It's called Klokhuis. You don't know it, I think, here, but and we made a special tour for children. So yeah, we had another voiceover and what simpler stories. But what was also funny, we had a music program, and there were musicians who made the instruments from the painting. They developed the instruments themselves and were playing music on those instruments in the program. So, everybody did his creative thing, and it became bigger. This was also very nice to see that in Google Classroom, educators, teachers invited their students to go to Google Classroom, and they were watching with 30 or 40 people together the online interactive and discuss with them about it. And now we see that teachers really like to use these kinds of interactives in their class. Yeah, well, this was the nicest compliment we got. This is the internet we were promised, so yeah, I want to keep it like this. Yeah.
Thank you. We've just explored a really magnificent website devoted to only one great work of art, but how about over 4 million of books, maps, prints, photographs, which are kept in BNF. And BNF gives you access to them. You may easily think in their collection. Moreover, the National Library of France work on innovations, not only for scholars, but also, for example, application for kids. And I couldn't resist to show you these cute micro monkeys from the merchant of early 16th century, grounded down the time. Matthieu, your turn.
Thank you. Hi. So I'm going to try and give you a short presentation of what we do at BNF in terms of reuse of digital content. So as Łukasz asked me as well, I'll try to give you a short tour of our digital library, as some of you may not know it, so I'll try to be quick and give you a short overview of what is a kind of a very big project and quite old now, because Gallica will turn out 20 years old this year, but I will talk a bit more about figures tomorrow in the other sessions about how big the digital library is in Paris and how we can handle it now. So the only aspect I'd like to stress out before the start is trying to distinguish what we call digital content in terms of digital libraries. So mainly in digital libraries we have data and metadata, and that's very important if you want to distinguish both aspects when you're talking about reuse of content, because some of your users would focus on data, others will focus on metadata, and some others will focus on both. So whether it's data or metadata, we'll always try as librarians to have these aspects that are written at the bottom of the slide, which are format, access, preservation, and interoperability, which is the new aspects we've been talking on for the past few years. These aspects touch as well data and metadata. So now we know what we have in the digital library. We'll need to understand where they are in the system. So Gallica is the main digital library at the BNF. It's very important for us that we only have one digital library, so everything we produce digitally is going to that website, which is gallica.bnf.fr. But we also have lots of metadata repositories. The main one is our general catalog, but we also have two other catalogs, our archiving manuscripts catalog and our catalog for illumination, which is non-Hagar, which is not yet connected to the rest of the system. That's where we're lagging a bit behind. And we also have a special catalog for coins and medals to be fully listed. I didn't written it on that slide, but we also have that. So that's the main metadata repository, and we expose these metadata as on the Open Archive Initiative's OER repository, and we use this OER repository to have the data pulled into Gallica, so we're also using it in-house to produce the data and make sure that the data which is pulled out in the digital library is coming from the catalog, because if we update the catalog, we want the data to be updated as well on the same time on the digital library. And we also expose our data, because it's very complex and very vast, as an open data platform for a couple of years, and that's called data.bnf.fr, where you can find and download triples for almost all the data we have. We did this platform at the beginning just to increase the ranking in Google, to make sure that our data was visible on the main search engines, and we realized that that website was also used by humans, because the data was so vast at the BNF that people would need kind of an entry point to see a bit differently the galaxy of data that we were targeting at. Just showing you this schema, because you will need to understand this if you want to understand how we address our users. So this is Gallica. This is the main page. We'll try to make it as simple as it could, but as it's a vast and important collection, we really need to be as universal as our library is, so it's always making quite a lot of content. And we also try to address different kinds of publics, so researchers and students, of course, but also secondary school teachers and the general public. So we need more mediation now on Gallica. We've realized that we need to explain and guide people through the content, because on its own it's sometimes a bit dry. This is a video that shows you how to do a simple search in Gallica. So I'm going to search for a score, and I will type Frédéric Chopin, and it will prompt me for the proper name, and there's a lot of scores coming up, of course, and if I click on the first one, I will get into the documents. So I have different ways of seeing it: single page, double page. It's not on the right side, so I have a button to put it on the right side, because sometimes it's not easy to distinguish the left from the right when we do the digitization, and we can't manually check it, so the user can by himself click to put in the right order. So now I've entered the zoom functionality, and we've added a few features on that zoom for people to be able to download easily the content. So what you can do, for example, is click on cut, click on JPEG, and then you can select a zone and have a tile made to measure and high resolution. So that is, if you're doing what Łukasz is doing, for example, for discarding images, I'm assuming this function is very useful, because you can download and drag and drop. But you can also download, especially for a score, if you're a musical student, for example, you can download the whole PDF of the document. So it's another functionality that you can do in Gallica. So we've tried to make as much exportable functionalities as we could for people to be able to reuse the content, because everything in Gallica is free and open source, and it will remain free and open source, of course. You also have a few functionalities to tag documents, add it to a list, etc., or warn the librarians if there's a mistake on the documents. It's not used that much. People tend to prefer to download the documents and have it on their own computers, rather than marking them and going back to them after a while. We'll try to put more functionalities for that, but it's still a bit difficult for people to use the library as a tool, rather than just a repository where they will pull out data for the personal use. And we also have an advanced search. So if you're a researcher and you need something very special, we try to put as much as we could in there. It's nearly like a catalog, but it's still just the digital library interface. And I'd like to show you one of the last visualization we've made, which is 3D globes. So we did that in partnership with a Japanese company called Nippon Printing that sponsored us for that. And so you can see 3D objects in a dedicated viewer. That is what it gives you when you use the 3D viewer. So you can zoom in and out and rotate the object. And you also have the functionality to change the light on it, because sometimes in these globes it's not always easy to see the names on them. So we've developed something rather ugly in terms of colors, but gives you a better understanding of the documents. And it can rotate on its own as well. So we used that as well in exhibits. So we did touch screen systems, and people were quite happy to use it. Also, during an exhibition, you had the physical globe and you had the virtual globe exposed as well. So, as I told you, we have a lot of possibility of exporting and download or make interoperable our contents. We're compatible with IIIF, which is the International Image Interoperability Framework. If you don't know about that, I'm sure there will be a workshop soon in this conference to explain you. You can also download this PDF, JPEG, and EPUB as well. We have nearly 1,500 really curated EPUBs, so EPUBs that have been made not from automatic processing, but reprocessed by humans to make sure it's readable on your tablet or your Kindle or anything. So you can use EPUB. And we also have apps that you can download for free from either iTunes Store or Android Store. Some of our content is also made accessible. We try to make our content as usable by anyone, even if they have any disabilities. So we have a text version of nearly almost all of our text content that can be OCRized and with high quality OCR. If the OCR is fine enough, you can have an audio functionality that can read the book for you. And you can, of course, always have access to the facsimile. We also are trying to curate our content as we curate a library. We always thought Gallica as a digital version of a physical library. It's not a website on top of what we do. It's another library that we are taking care of as we take care of a physical reading room. So we have what's called la sélection in the interface. We have thematic folders that can guide you through understanding the collections by type of documents, themes, or areas. So we're using this functionality, which is based on Drupal, to curate our content. We have a blog that is more informal than the formal selection. Selection is a bit more like a scientific talk, and the blog is more informal. So librarians that are talking on it, but also users are able to use it. And then we are trying to also value our community of users. So we have Gallica notes, that's how we call our users, and they're expressing themselves differently. So Łukasz is one of them. He has a thumb.
With this page with adult content and pornography.
Yeah, so you can go, it's discarding image in Tumblr. So it's a very interesting way of discovering differently the manuscripts. We also have blog posts on our blog. We give the floor to users to express themselves the way they use Gallica, and we also do interviews that are published on YouTube. So that guy, for example, he collects old discs, audio discs, and he talks to the users about how he uses Gallica to complete his own collection, to value it on the web, because he has his own website, and he's using Gallica a lot. We also have international portals. So our international divisions is doing websites on specific files. We just released one about the history of France and Poland, so that's the page about Marie Curie. But we also have Eastern libraries or other important international projects that have their own website, which are connected to Gallica, so you can click and have text produced by scholars, and then you're guided through the original documents in the libraries. So a scholar or someone who knows very well Gallica would not necessarily use these content. We've produced them for people who don't know our libraries and would like to be guided through the content. So that's a way to curate as well, because we can't reach out to physical users, so we try to put there as much content as we can. But we also are participating in international research projects. That's a way also for us to cooperate. And with IIIF, that allows static interoperability, we're doing more and more on these projects. But we did it for like more than 10 years, because homonlaos.org, which is a website that is giving you access to almost all the manuscripts of the rose kept in the world, and it's operated by Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. It's now 10 years old, so it's still there, it's still been running, and we also have more recent projects such as Bellissima, which is gathering all the content about Middle Age and Renaissance that has been produced digitally in France for 25 years. We also are using a lot of social networks. As well, we have users in Paris who's taking photographs on front of the main monuments in Paris using an iPad showing the version, the Gallica version of the monument. So it's kind of popular on YouTube, even if it's just done with no means of it's just an iPad and a photo camera. But it works quite well because people would like to go and see and click on the URL on the tweet to see the full document. And we have now more than just curating a community, we're trying to move out to a community strategy at the BNF. So we're just at the start of what's called Gallica Studio, and my colleague who's in charge of the project just called it now the blob, because it's an undefined object that we try to develop as a tool that links among the usages of the library, developing new tools, doing experiments, having a creative space for people who would like to use Gallica a bit more creatively, and maybe to have also artists in residency, to invite artists to produce digital content and display it on the website of the library. So this project is just a start for now. That's all I know about it, because we're keeping it a bit secret as well, even from me. But I find it a very exciting project because it's a way to share the library and share the development of the digital library with users, which is something we didn't really do for our physical libraries. And we're doing it more freely with our digital library. And we also have events about our community. So we're organizing a hackathon. That the second edition will be this year at the end of November, so it's coming very soon. And it will be about music. So we invite 100 people, not only geeks, but people interested in cultural content, whether they're programmers or not, because programmers don't like to do events on their own in the cultural world, so they need inputs from other users, like passionates from culture, to develop projects for the library and for the digital library. And the winner wins the prize, which is no money at all, but just the right to have the project developed by the BNF as a full service of the library. And it works quite well. So that's 24 hours non-stop. And this year we're also adding conference, workshops, and sound installation, and even digital dance floor for the library. So we'll be doing a big party about technology at the BNF at the end of November. And that works quite well. That's the team from last year. So it's also very good in terms of team management, because on this photo you see people with t-shirts with Gallica, and about 80% of them are people from the hackathon, that did users that did the hackathon, but 20% of these people are librarians. And you can't see them in the pictures. There's even the president of the library at the center. And so it's also a very good event because everybody gets mixed during 24 hours non-stop, librarians, people, and they all share their passion for books and heritage, and they all develop projects together. So it's also a very good way for example, programmers of the library who don't see a user ever, because they're not doing services in the rooms, so they don't see the users anyway. So during this hackathon, they can meet with them, talk with them, and discuss the way they work. So it's also very important for staff to do this kind of events. That's the project from last year. We got, the winner was a geolocation project to locate on a map the search results of Gallica, so it's a way to see differently your results. There was a project called Gallica LOL that allows you to build up memes out of Gallica. So you type in a word, gives you images from the digital library, and you can type in your nonsense sentence on it and then publish on the tool on the social networks. That's a beaver, don't ask me why. Ask Łukasz why. And so I made that just with the paper last night. And Digitisation is a very funny robot. It's a robot that look for you into Gallica OCR text for funny words or words, trending topics from the news, for example, and find sentences out from the literature and tweet it. And the plot of the project was to say, okay, you're a national library, so you can't tweet nonsense. It's not good for a national library to be able to tweet. So we've invented a robot that would tweet nonsense for you. And you can say, oh, that's not me, it's a robot. So, for example, if you type in Trump in this robot, it's very funny because Trump is a very frequent name in literature for characters, and these people usually say bizarre things. So connected to the news, sometimes it's really funny. It works very well with Macron, for example, as well, which is a very common name in literature. So that's all. That's what I had to tell you about what we do in digital reuse. I hope it's not too much information too fast, which is always the case with the BNF. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer later on.
Thank you, Matthieu. Thanks for the good work. So I have another story of my life. I just love Dutch culture, Dutch paintings, Dutch art, Dutch wheat policy, Dutch cuisine, maybe not so much except herring, and especially one Dutch fashion brand. So a few months ago I was shopping on their website and I saw this. Of course, I erased the name of the brand, no product placement. And I saw these tulips, and I said to myself, I've seen it before, because the whole collection was, the garment was with prints of the silhouette of these flowers. So, where? Of course, on the Rijksmuseum website. And this is how Rijks works. That means inviting users to create, to mix, recreate, and to make their own works with images of artworks from the past. So, Peter, now your turn.
Thank you very much. Well, this is a great introduction to my story. In fact, it was my story, but I still have some more examples. So, I'm Peter Gorgels from the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, who has gone to the Rijksmuseum from this audience. Okay. Also to the new Rijksmuseum after the renovation. Yes. And who knows Rijksstudio already? Okay, well, for the people who don't know it, I will tell this story and maybe you learn anyway. First I'm gonna show you a little video. Well, Rijksstudio is about opening up the collection for everybody and to stimulate the use of it and creativity. So first I'm going to show you this video.
There is no.
And well, that's a nice thing if you open up the collection and people start to do all kinds of things with it. And this is a commercial, the ING Bank, one of our sponsors, made when we reopened the Rijksmuseum. It was 4 years ago. So, well, we are the Museum of the Netherlands, and we tell the story of Dutch art and history from the Middle Ages until now. And we think that our collection belongs to everyone. So, before the renovation, 10, 15 years ago, we were very, well, traditional, highbrow, well, a little bit boring museum, and we wanted to change that. So our mission is now the right team connects people, art and history. So we want to take a place in a modern society and also modern digital culture. So therefore we invented the Rag Studio project. We want to bring the collection close to the audience. We have now 340 artworks on high resolution. It gets more even every day. So our ambition is to digitize the whole collection as 1 million artworks in the next 10 years. So, well, you can see all artworks in large images, you can zoom in very deeply, you can save it, share it, and make your own thing with it. And we have, well, branding and activation campaigns all the time. So, well, a little sidestep maybe about how we developed the concept. Well, the museum is a little bit difficult organization, you could say. You have curators, educators, everybody has his own collection, everybody wants his own book, his own app. Well, tools, we heard a lot today, virtual reality, augmented reality, you can do so many things. So how do you choose a good concept? So we think it's in the sweet spot of those 3 circles: museum, user trends and tools. And we want to make a concept that has really added value for a very large target group. Not do many things, but just one thing for a very large target group. So, well, it's a little model about open data. There are a lot of people who really like open data. We like it too, but we think open data is not enough. You have to do something more. So you have an axis of closed data, open data, and concept and no concept. If you go to the upper left, well, that's e-commerce, good e-commerce concepts. It's closed data and a good concept. You have closed data with no concept, maybe that's business to business, must have information like raw information. And on the right, bottom right, you see open data and no concept. So you see a lot of archive museums, they put their stuff online, but they don't do anything around it. And we think we have to do something to stimulate the people to really use your collection. So we hope with a great concept and open data, that's Right Studio. So we have our website, it's very simple and responsive, so on all screens you can see it very good. We only have 3 buttons, plan your visit, collection, Right Studio, and about the museum. And plan your visit and Right Studio is 80% of the motivation that people come to our website. So we use, everywhere we use very large images. So Right Studio, it's about engaging new audiences at different levels. So this is the Right Studio homepage. You see some stories about Rembrandt, Vermeer. We have some 300 to 400 stories. And just for people who don't know exactly our collection, just to help them and guide them a little bit. If you scroll down, then you come in the Real Right Studio. It's a user-generated visual timeline. And people can make their own stories in a Pinterest-style way. And they are mixed by stories from the Right Museum itself. So we see Van Moer's story from the Right Museum, and Willem van der Veld's story, but also all kinds of stories from users. And so we put them together, so we say your opinion or your story is, we think is even important as our story. So that's really a nice way to present it. So you can also download all the artworks in very high resolution, and you can do anything you want with it for private use, but also for commercial use for free. So you don't have to pay us anything to use it. So if really beautiful details, you can do anything with it. It's really great. So we say, well, on Airbnb, everybody can be a hotel manager. On eBay, everybody can be a merchant. And we want Right Studio to be for everybody can be a museum director. So if you like stoere mannen, that's tough guys, then you can make your own tough guys story. Well, and if you like bottom left, this is a very strange personal collection. It's somebody who just took the bottom lefts of all kinds of paintings and he made his own abstract artwork of it. So, Right Studio is very much also about new ways of looking and new users, not only people who love art history, but if you love cats, for example, you can also make a beautiful cat collection. And we have now, after 4 years, we have now more than 200,000 personal collections made. So we want to stimulate active reuse of the collection. This is an example of information.
But here
just found all kind of artworks. He didn't animate much. He just put it together and it became an animation. So we work a lot with sponsors and partners. We work with Heineken, it's the biggest beer company in the Netherlands. They make beer bottles with artwork from the Rijksmuseum. This Droogdesign, a famous design collective in the Netherlands for the Salone des Mobile 2 years ago. They make tableware inspired by the tableware from our Golden Age collection. This is cars, a lot of cars with beautiful prints on it. And Albert Heijn, it's the biggest supermarket chain in the Netherlands, and we had a big campaign with them with milk cartons with artworks on it. People in Holland drink a lot of milk, so millions of tables, kitchen tables, there were our artworks. We also had a partnership with Etsy. Etsy is I don't know if you know, it's a big platform for designers where they can sell their own stuff. And we had a campaign with them where they asked designers to make stuff inspired by our collection, and well, it went pretty viral, all kind of blogs they have. But Rijksmuseum is for the most part also for users, for you and me. So this is just what I found on Twitter where someone put artworks on curtains. So we think some success factors after 4 years. The power of the image is very important, mobile first but responsive, and the democratizing of art. And the impact, we found a new audience, the culture snacker, not only art lover, but the culture snacker. That's someone who's all day online and plays with Instagram and Facebook and makes pictures and share them. Well, we think we are all culture snackers nowadays, so it's a very large target group. We have deeper engagement, people really do stuff with our collection, and the traditional museum world has also changed for the Rijksmuseum. And we are relevant at all times and everywhere. So now, to do our stuff here now, we could say, I love Rijks, and nobody laughs then. It's really what we can say now. We are more likable brand. So we also have now the Rijksstudio Award to stimulate and award creativity. There were 3 editions. The last edition was in this spring, and it was now international. And we had more than 2,600 entries from 62 countries and 10,000 public votes. And we had a launch in Berlin, in London, and New York in the MoMA, and in Amsterdam. We had an expert jury with a lot of famous names. It was the winner, interesting also, of 2015, was a bracelet, a book bracelet with 1,400 little tiny pages with all hands drawn by Rembrandt. It was really an amazing piece of art. Those were the finalists before the Night Watch from this year, and I have a video about the award. believe. So, well, we also have a little Rijksmuseum on the Schiphol airport near Amsterdam. And it reopened 2 weeks ago, and we also have a little video about this, but it's about the luggage carousel, where we also put some artworks on it to introduce the new Rijksmuseum on the airport.
Welcome to the Netherlands and welcome to Schiphol, where the Rijksmuseum presents the first ever baggage carousel exhibition. We've already started. Rembrandt most famous painting, The Night Watch, painted in 1642 and showing the might and strength of the Amsterdam elite in the 17th century. You wouldn't think it, but this is actually, I'm going to even move it. This is actually a painting by Mondrian. Vermeer, another item of Dutch art. Terwijl je wacht, kun je genieten van kunst. En deze die is van Karel Appel. En Karel Appel was helemaal geïnspireerd door kindertekeningen. Ja. And that brings us to the end of our very, very short art history class. Please come and see all these wonderful works of art at the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam.
So, well, to end it, well, we are a museum in the Netherlands. The collection belongs to everyone. We think you can enjoy it every time, everywhere, even when you're doing your yoga.
Thank you, Stefan. And it is also from Rijks, and it was my kind plan to introduce Alex Baron, who is chef with this painting. So I had to put something else, also from Rijks, and now Marta. But let me tell you something about Alex Baron, because he uses a lot of digitized stuff from digital libraries, from Polona, and also from digital museums, especially Rijks. And he's tied to multicultural roots of Polish cuisine. And what really made us friends, it was exploring old sources about Polish cuisine. So we worked together a lot, and I was really taken back by his work, by the results and his culinary genius. So I hope you will have a taste of it thanks to Marta.
Thank you. I will need some cheat sheets, as I'm not Aleksander. But yes, I would like to say once again that I'm really sorry that I'm standing here, not Aleksander, and please excuse him, because he's an extremely busy person and he really wanted to be here, but he didn't make it. But I hope I will be a good replacement, and on his behalf I will present the presentation we basically wrote together, so I hope it won't be a problem. Do you want to understand? Okay? So let's start from the middle. It was planned, but as Alex is not here, let's watch him.
La France, à Paris, la richesse, l'architecture, la musique. Des petits chiens, beaucoup de petits chiens français et une cuisine des plus exquises. Il n'est pas facile de satisfaire le palais d'un Français. Un chef polonais sans complexe n'a pas peur de pénétrer dans les salons parisiens. Il a tout ce qu'il faut. Des yeux, un nez, deux mains, des ustensiles, un tablier, un talon, l'accès aux sources d'inspiration d'anciennes recettes de cuisine polonaise. Qu'est-ce qui est nécessaire pour impressionner les Parisiens? Du maghrébinois, des lactaires, des fruits de sorgho, un bouillon de bœuf, des lamproies de rivière marinée, du cœur de cerf, du filet de bison des bois, des écrevisses polonaises, des fruits, de la carotte blanche, un extrait de persil, amande polonais de la mer Baltique, du miel en alvéole, des herbes et fleurs polonaises, un grain d'épices. De tout cela, notre héros va préparer les plats suivants. Soupe glacée et structurée au bouillon de vache rouge de Pologne avec des écrevisses à pâte rouge. Filet de bison des bois de la forêt vierge de Białowieża, cuit à l'avoine de Rhodes. Écrevisses à pâte rouge, cuites aux feuilles d'aneth servies avec un goût au beurre citronné. Agrétois fumé et sordier des saveurs caramélisées. Alvéoles de miel de miela, crème aigre de Schmikan, Itfarol de Dormossoif. Les Parisiens ont avoué que le dîner à la polonaise a vaincu leur cœur.
We have real Parisian right here. Maybe he will verify this evening.
Yes, so the project à la Polonaise was the idea of reminding the French people about the Polish roots or Polish influence in their cuisine. And as I don't know if everyone understood, let me translate the dishes Aleksander prepared for the dinner. And it was deconstructed cold soup made with beetroot, beef stock, and crayfish. It was uroks, serlon from Białowieża forest. It was crayfish with fennel in lemon butter roux, and półgęsek. It's a special kind of meat. I mean, it's a goose breast, which is pickled and smoked with the skin, so it has very specific flavor. And it was served with caramelized mutton hash. For the dessert, Aleksander served the honeycomb with cream and cottage cheese. And the idea of, like I said before, the idea of this dinner was to remind French people about the influence of the Polish people in France. And he used to get the inspiration and the recipes, the Polona archives, where all the old prints and cookbooks are digitalized. And as Aleksander, like Łukasz said, continued the cooperation with Polona, he got inspired with the Piłsudski ship. It was the great ship Titanic Wise, which traveled from Poland to Norway. And the last trip happened in 1939, just before the Second World War. And the last trip, and here's the menu from let's assume the last trip of this ship to Norway, because it sank in 1939, possibly because of the bomb underwater. So here is the original scan of the menus, and lunch and dinner. Let me just show you the translation. And it's difficult to imagine that in Poland in the first half of 20th century they had such a big imagination about food, and it was so multicultural, so posh, let's say, and very light and innovative. So you had Italian salad, you had bean salad, you had caviar, eggs, pate, and everything wasn't about only food. It was about the flavors, the textures, some influences. Because as you may know, and like Łukasz mentioned before, Polish cuisine is molded by many different cultures. We had Jews, we had Russians, we had Germans, Tatars, but this presentation will concentrate on the Western European influence, as we really wanted to be Western European. We still do. And here is a translation of the dinner. So you had amuse-bouche, the melon, cantaloupe. You had many different greens and many different styles of food. You still had some kind of traditional Polish flavors, like meats, quite heavy mackerel, cheesecake, cheese and biscuits, which is not Polish, but they still served Polish cheese on the ship. And yes, so that was the second point of inspiration that Aleksander got by using the digitalized cookbooks. And here's this nice lady, and possibly if you are Polish, you should know her. She was, I think, every grandma has her book at home. So it's Lucyna Czarkiewiczowa. It's so difficult to pronounce it in Polish, so I don't expect that any of you, our foreign guests, wouldn't even try. She was the author of most popular cookbooks, and she wrote in the 19th century, and I think one of the most famous cookbooks she wrote is 365 dinners for 5 zlotys. And she was, on the one hand, she was a cook writer, and on the other hand, she tried to give good pieces of advice about household for good wives and maids. But as she's not dead in our hearts and minds, as she's still present in our kitchen. I would like to tell you a story that Aleksander loves, that she was a tough woman, and she was very rude. And there is that story that she slapped her maid, and she was fined for slapping her a ticket 2.5 ruble, and she asked if she can pay 5 rubles, so she could slap her once again, and she did. So yes, so she was a tough woman, but she remained in our homes forever, I guess. Another lady, a cook writer who is also present at Polona, is Maria Okrowicz-Montanowa, and her cookbook it was written much later, but still it's you can find it at home. At every Polish home you can find the most popular cookbook of all times. And Aleksander says that whenever he has any doubts about recipes, about flavors, about origins of the food, he always takes or search on Polona the book of Maria Chowisz-Pontanova, and he finds the answer there. So this is the heritage which fortunately was digitalized, because as you know, cookbooks like to be destroyed by fires, oils, and they are torn and are laid in pieces. So that's the thing Aleksander wants to mention and highlight, that because of digitalization we can have good, high quality, very important books of our culture and food. And why we are saying that Polish cuisine has French influence and Western influence. The thing is that our last king, Stanislas August Poniatowski, his head chef was Paul Tremor, and he was born in Berlin, and he was a favorite chef of Polish royals and nobles. And he brought that French and Western influence to Polish cuisine, and it happened in 18th century. So we have full right to say that the French influence is right now like permanent in our cuisine. So let's not forget that we are not only eating potatoes and pork. We have so many different kinds of cuts, bakes, and meats. And I don't know if you know, there's a story that every Thursday King Poniatowski had their dinner, and this is thanks to Paul Tremor, who prepared those dinners. But he's not the most important person in Polish cook writing, because Jan Szyfler, who was the student of Paul Tremor, was the first author. I think he's written the first cookbook, which was organized, and you can also find it on Polona. And he's written cookbooks for huntsmen, for they were thematics, so there were themes like preparing game, some advice for huntsmen to how to prepare for the hunting or for the trip. So basically he is said to be the first author of Polish cookbooks. And it was there was a re-edition of Compendium Ferculorum. It's like a thesaurus of Polish cuisine and Polish dishes, and Aleksander always uses compendium when he's preparing any historical or traditional recipe, and you can find the cheat sheet. You can find recipes and you can find dishes which you know under other names today. So, like you have chutneys, which are some kind of sweet and savory jams made of vegetables, which are not that obvious. And we think that chutneys came to Poland from Great Britain. It's not true. There was that thing called gongszt. You cannot translate. You can translate it to Polish or something. But it was present in Polish cuisine much earlier than we can imagine. And this is why it's worth to dig in those old cookbooks, because you can find many interesting facts and many flavors that you wouldn't expect. And the last thing I want to say instead of Aleksander is that in Compendium Folklorum you can find the tortoise animelek, and animelka is a name for thymus, so you know that part of organism that disappears when we grow up. So it's very tender, and it's thymus. It's I cannot explain it better. So so in Compendium Folklorum, Aleksander found the inspiration for the thymus cake, and he recreated that at his restaurant, and it looked like this. It's a savory dish, and I would like to end this presentation with a very fast-forward slideshow of Aleksander's dishes, where you can find traditional Polish plates, but also some of non-obvious, many ears, many livers, many hearts, but I think you will enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Any vegetarians here? So I will stop it, so maybe it can hurt you. So right now we should end, but maybe some 5 minutes for Q&A. Any questions? Okay. So let's finish right now. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow.